So something happened. A game launched yesterday. Highly anticipated game. A game we were watching closely. MindsEye. Yes, they launched yesterday to much aplomb, as it were, heretofore, post tense. And, you know, in some ways it's better than I expected. And in a lot of ways, it's exactly what I expected. You know, I do think that there is a world in which MindsEye gets delayed, gets plenty of time given to it, and it ends up being kind of a cool project. I do think there was a way to make this something interesting because they've got a lot of phenomenal talent there. They have a lot of talented voice actors and actors and motion capture. You look at the cutscenes. The cutscenes are actually pretty solid, but this thing was not ready. It just wasn't. And it's so clear when you start to look at some of these clips that it was not ready. And I'm going to share with you some of what came out yesterday, including some really funny, insane things that are insane. So just buckle up, okay? Because some of this is wacky. So people have been playing it. This was the first screenshot that started to go viral. It was taken from a video playthrough in German, and I've not been able to find it. I don't know if this is still up. I don't know if it's still around. I guess we can check again. I'm not seeing it. I wanted to find the original clip to show it in context, but I'm not seeing it. Probably because YouTube doesn't tend to release or like recommend videos in other languages. It's just not their typical modus operandi. I don't see it. And it doesn't look like any of you guys found it. That's okay. That's okay. But anyway, this was the first little snippet that started popping off. Was this screenshot right as the game launched. Some sort of horrifying, insane graphical glitch that's straight out of AC Unity. So this started making the rounds, and immediately people are like, oh boy. So it looks like suspicions were accurate. People were right to be concerned about this. And then more clips started coming out. Number one, performance is abysmal. Nick Tech has been putting out some clips to just summarize this. As usual, Nick Tech does a phenomenal job recapping all of this. But as you can see, playing the game on PC, game stutters like hell. Look at some of this. Look at some of these dips. Game goes crazy. So I recorded my video on the PlayStation 5 Pro because I didn't want people to say that like, oh, it's your hardware, Luke. That's the reason it's not running great. Because there's people already claiming that I like messed with my PlayStation 5 to make it run the game poorly, which is ridiculous. But even this, like you can see on PC, it's running very poorly, very, very poorly. Okay, it looks like 9800 XT. Is that what that is? 9070 XT. Like it should not be running like this is the point. Okay, this is bad. It runs very, very poorly optimized. On the PlayStation 5 Pro, it claims it's PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced. On the store page, PlayStation put that on. Like PlayStation put enhanced on their game or on the store page, and it does not go above 30 frames. In fact, the PlayStation 5 Pro struggles to hit 30 frames. Most of the gameplay is in the like high to mid 20s with occasional drops even lower. Just it's not ready. Like the performance is really bad. NPC, AI, and variety is extremely bad. You can see tons of NPCs with the same faces but different clothes. Some NPCs react to guns, some stand like a statue. When NPCs do react, the game stutters for a moment to utilize their AI or whatever is happening in the background. Yet you can literally feel the game go like, oh, loading, personality, and then it like chugs while it's figuring out what the NPC should do. It's really, really bizarre. And you know, again, you just start to feel like the game was built with those tools, like the sort of in-game modding tools that they pitched, where it's supposed to be like drag and drop. Oh, place NPCs here. You can make your own levels and stuff. Look at that. That was unbelievable. But that comes with, you know, a lack of depth, but that's the entire game. Is the entire game feels like this. And this is why it's such a big deal. When you try to frame yourself around GTA, that's a problem. They were promoting on Reddit posts that compared their game to GTA 6 and said like, this is a great game to hold you over until GTA 6. When you put yourself into the Rockstar arena, you get these comparisons. People will make these comparisons because you entered that arena. You chose to enter that arena and be compared in that way. This gameplay makes him look like a psychopath, but you get what I mean. Like you Just plowing through people. But like, this is what happens. You will be compared in these one-to-one ways that will, like, you're not going to win those comparisons. You're just not going to. Okay? It's not going to work. It's not a good idea. No police system. It's non-existent except in some mini games. You can basically do this and nothing happens as a consequence. The way they get around this is they say that the open world, in order to explore it, you have to go into a separate game mode called free roam. So they're saying, yeah, there's no police presence because that's not the kind of game we're making. We're making a linear game, but we aren't making a police system or any sort of like consequence system for these types of actions because it's free roam. It's not an open world game, which whatever. But the point is, when you have an open world like this and you compared yourself to GTA, you're going to get these comparisons again. Like I stopped feeling bad because they compared themselves in that way. They brought up the comparisons and tried to play that game. And now they're like trying to cry foul because people are being like, yeah, but it's nowhere near as good as that. As you can see here, no melee combat. There's no punching. There's no even press the right stick to do a melee attack. There's just nothing like that. You can't steal cars. You can only enter from the left side of the car. Yeah, the vehicles are not all operable. This one, the game has traffic system issues where the cars all end up... Dude's just walking. What is happening? Like... The in-game AI is just not ready. It's just broken. It doesn't work. The cars don't know how to navigate this parking lot. So they just flip. And like, it's just, again, it's broken. If you try to explore the open world, you constantly get a mission to abandon fail screen. Whoops. During my playthrough, I wanted to explore some areas because the game seemingly doesn't want you to explore the world at the beginning of the game. Maybe it's unlocked later, but as far as 4 hours into the game, I couldn't free roam except for the time where I glitched out of a mission. If free roam gets unlocked after finishing the game, this would be a very bad game design in my opinion. Well, and it's also just the way they're getting around it is just to say it's not an open world game. So don't expect that. And you know what? Okay. But then maybe don't compare yourself to GTA. Okay. Like just saying. This is probably nitpicking, but some missions are a pain in the ass. This one, for instance, begins with my car already being damaged after a shootout, causing the vehicle to explode early. And it took me multiple tries before finishing this mission. This kind of follows with some of the balancing things we heard about where during the previews, the game was so broken that they had to turn on invincibility twice, 2 separate times in order to actually finish it because even the devs couldn't get through it, which, you know, that's not great, but that's what happens. Yes, you should absolutely follow Nick Tech, by the way. You absolutely should. Did this recap, does great recaps. Also YouTube videos, all that stuff. You should follow Nick Tech, absolutely. Extreme ghosting issues when using an upscaler. Yes, indeed. If you're using FSR, XESS, or TSR, the game will have some extreme ghosting issues that are very noticeable and hinder gameplay. Also, they claimed, I believe, that they were going to have FSR, was it 3? One of the versions of FSR they said they were going to have, and they just straight up didn't. The open world feels empty. I glitched out of a mission once and free roamed to see how detailed Red Rock City is, and now I know why the game doesn't want you to explore it. There's seemingly nothing to it. The city is beautiful and very detailed, but lacks soul, almost like the Matrix Unreal Engine 5 demo, which is ironic because this is an Unreal Engine game as well. And yeah, I mean, again, it's more that this was a map built. That's his stutter, not mine. That's the game. It was a game that was built, or an environment that was built for the missions to take place within. It is not an open world game. And to be fair, they started following up and explaining that, but it was kind of too little too late because they had already compared themselves to GTA. And these are just a few of the little snippets. You want to know one of the most insanely funny things that happened? Carnage, who's a streamer, was booting up a game. I'll let you guess which game it was. And he was going to do a sponsored stream of it. Just watch what happened, okay?
Now I know what that is. Oh, Chad. What? Okay.
Closed one game, is opening another.
The sponsor just paused the sponsored stream. So, first time that's happened. Just got contacted and they wanted to pause the stream. Yep. Was it because I mentioned the reviews? Now I know what that is.
Maybe, dude. Maybe. If they were like, oh, no, he's Googled it. Shut it down. Shut it down now. Maybe. It's possible. It's possible. Does this mean he's not getting paid? Yeah, probably not. The thing with a lot of this stuff is like, if they pull out, you could probably like sue them for contract breaking and all of that, but it's probably going to cost you more in lawyers than you would get realistically. So it's probably not worth it. You know, like I just, unless you're like, I don't know, a Ludwig or something, unless you're somebody who's probably getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, then it probably makes sense to get lawyers involved if they try to back out at the last second. But yeah, I think if you're not on that like giga streamer level, it's probably not useful. Oh no, he's on a better game. Cancel it. Well, and they did a lot of sponsored streams. Okay. Literally the only positive stuff I heard about MindsEye came from sponsored content. And even then, there were some sponsored things that were still not positive. Okay. There were still some sponsored things that were not that positive. Is it like ViperAU? What's that guy's name? Do you know what I'm talking about? Dark Viper. He was doing a sponsored stream. So Synth says, DarkViperAU did a sponsored stream for MindsEye and he could barely keep it together for the ending ad segment.
This preview ends of MindsEye. Just like to remind you guys that
Oh, yeah. Thank God.
Thank God.
this game was sponsored by. If you want to check out MindsEye now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, Epic Game Store, and Steam, feel free. You can type !spawn in chat and I give you a link.
Very cool game.
I'm pretty sure that this game is going to win Game of the Year this year.
It's a little funny. It's a little funny. On the one hand, like, if I know that I'm going to hate something, we don't do sponsorships, okay? Like, my policy is, like, with everything we cover and do, I need to check it out before I agree to do anything. So, like, even now, we're working kind of behind the scenes on some sponsored stuff. And I tell them, like, if I don't like it, it will be obvious. Like, and of course, with all of our sponsored videos, I always say, I got to be able to say whatever I want to say. So if I hate it and if there's big problems, I have to be able to say it. And to their credit, plenty of brands are like, absolutely. Mecha Break, for example, we did a sponsored video with them and I told them, I don't like how it's monetized in this like closed beta thing they did. I was like, I don't like how I have to buy the different mechs. I don't like how you have to buy to progress those things. I don't like that. And I said that in our sponsored video and they allowed it. They allowed it. They said, okay. And you know what? They actually came out. They said they're making changes to all of that. They're actually like overhauling the progression around feedback from not just me, but from the community as well, because we were all kind of on the same page. And that's what you would hope to hear, right? Like you'd hope to hear that the brand is like, yeah, say anything you want. Our game is awesome. And if you have notes, we would like to know them. So please share them. Like that's what you would hope to hear. But there are plenty of companies that will pay you to do like sponsored streams, and it's straight up like, no, you have to talk about these features. You have to say you should go buy it. You have to go say you should do this, you should do that. And you can't critique it. You can't say anything bad. It's a sponsored stream. Like you gotta hype it up. And in this case, technically, I'm sure he did that. I'm not sure he's moving any copies as a result of this. You know, I'm not sure he's moving any copies. Funnily enough, we've actually done sponsored segments or videos actually where they're like, yeah, we'll give you access to the game. You can try it. And if you don't like it, we'll just go our separate ways. And we've had that happen. Like we've had that happen where they the game is just not where it's at, and I'm like, I can't. No, this doesn't make sense. This is not gonna work, and we walk away and we go our separate ways. And so instead of me like making a sponsored video where I'm like, guys, I really don't like this game, instead of that, we just move on. They don't have to spend their money on me bashing the game. And we'll just go our separate ways because we don't like it. But in this case, I mean, I've seen a lot of these sponsored streams, and most of them are like, they just try to be positive, even though chat's kind of toxic, and that's whatever. But it's this sub message that gets me.
Just like to remind you guys that
Thank God.
this game was sponsored by.
Like, on the one hand, part of me feels bad for them that they paid for a sponsored stream and they're getting like it's popping off. People are watching it, not because it's promoting the game, but because everybody knows that he actually really did not like the game, and everybody's just like can't say it, So I feel bad for them a little bit for that. But it's also really funny. Like if your game's not ready and you do sponsored content, it looks really bad. And there's been videos put out, sponsored videos, like I tried videos where people are just like hyping it up or trying to say that it's really good. But again, the only positive stuff I've seen about the game have come from sponsored content, which is just not how it's supposed to work. It's not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be kind of in tandem. Positivity over here, positivity over there, some sponsored streams, and they're also loving it. That's what you'd hope to see. But instead, like we see this. It's just very funny. So Mind's Eye, unfortunately, is kind of exactly what we thought it would be. It's unfortunate that it is, but it just is. And, maybe they can get it where it needs to be eventually. But when you look at the whole entirety of everything that went down with this, I think the odds are pretty low that they get given the time to figure it out. I'm just being real. Like, I think that the fact that the CFO resigned, this chief legal officer leaves right before the game comes out, and all of this is going down right before the game launches. It launches, it's super broken, and like apparently they're not moving many copies, and I'd be surprised if Build a Rocket Boy is still around in like 2-3 months. I should be ashamed of being linked to this mess. It's why I honestly was surprised that they did the showcase between Hitman 007 and Mind's Eye. Like, I understand they're publishing it. They put a lot of money into it. But I would love to know what went down behind the scenes, because it really seems like at some point they just said, you're cut off. No more money. Put the game out. It does what it does. And now we're seeing the results of it. Like, it just was not ready. It was super broken, very rushed. And even then, the core idea, like, it's what I said in the video I made. I think even polished and running pretty well, it's still probably like a 7 out of 10 game. Like, it's just kind of boring. So if even when the biggest problem, which is the performance, even when that is fixed, you're still looking at kind of a meh score, because people get confused. 7 out of 10 is like, that's like a C. So when I think of like a C, C's get degrees. Like, C is technically passing. You made a game. That's assuming they can fix AI. That's assuming they can fix everything. It still is probably just kind of like a boring open world game, and is like a C-. But I don't think it ever gets there. Yeah, I always have to clarify with the 7 out of 10, because in my brain, I think 70, which is like a C, and in the American school system, a C is like, you completed the assignment of making a video game. Like, you completed the assignment. It's not exceptional at all. It is exactly what you needed to do to pass the bar. A D is like, I should fail you, but I don't want to, because then I'd have to have you in my class for another semester. That's kind of where I'm at. So the grading system's confusing. I would understand if a lot of people are like 5s, but again, I think it just depends on what we mean by what they could fix. If they could fix all the AI, if they could fix the NPC AI, if they could fix the combat systems, we're talking about a very different video game. If they could just change all of it, it would be better. So I just don't think practically they could ever get there. But even if they did, I still think just in terms of like the story, how they have it set up, the mission structures and everything, I think it's still just like a kind of game, even with all that fixed. So I just don't see a great outcome for it. But it's what happens when you make a game that's basically just an extra mode for a Fortnite kind of ripoff. You know, it's shocker it didn't end up really great. 5 is in the middle, so 7 is good. No, I understand some people grade it that way, but most American journalists, game journalists, are grading basically off of a weird version of the American school system grading system. A 70 is a C, which is like
Ironclad Disposal donated $10 through Super
average.
Chat. Do you think we will see Sony issue refunds for MindsEye like they did for Cyberpunk?
I saw people saying that they were getting approved for refunds. So I don't know if they'll I don't think they're going to delist it or anything unless it gets really, really bad. But I've heard people, or I've seen posts from people saying that they got approved for refunds on PlayStation. So if you bought it there for some reason, go and try it. So like IGN's grading score, just so I can be clear about this. So I can be obscure about this. They rate like 10 out of 10 masterpiece is that it's masterpiece. It is highest recommendation. It's amazing. It's as close as somebody could reasonably expect for a game to be to perfect. It's just phenomenal. 9 is amazing. Maybe there's a couple of things that are really, really good. There might be like one problem here or there, but really, really fantastic games. Great is an 8. 7 is good. It's a time well spent. Could be better, absolutely, but it maybe lacks ambition, few technical bumps, too repetitive, but we came away happy. 6 is okay. It's a recommendation that comes along with a bunch of ifs. That's probably a good way of describing an okay game. It's like, if you like sci-fi games, if you like games that are really trippy and wacky, maybe then you'd like it. That's probably a good way of doing it. I kind of like that. 5 being mediocre, just like totally bland, unremarkable. I could see giving like MindsEye a 5. Right now, I think it's like a 4 or a 3 on their scale, but even fully fixed on IGN scale, it's probably still like a 5 or a 6, maybe a 6 if they fix the AI and all of that stuff. I did see this. I thought this was funny. Modern review scale. 1 to like 78 is terrible. Sucks. But then in the 80s and 90s, yeah, it's like much clearer, easier to break down. Yeah. I guess officially I can work on this. If you guys think that this scale that IGN has is maybe more in line with what you'd expect, I can try really hard to change the way my brain thinks about it, because I always think of it as like a letter grade in school where, you know, a B is good, a C is like okay, D is mediocre, and then an F is bad. But the grading scale would be like shifted up by a point or two. But if this is more in line with what you'd expect, I could see that. Just be like, yeah. MindsEye right now, I think is bad to awful. Even fully fixed, it probably ends up okay to maybe even good. Maybe. But I mean, probably just okay at the top end. That's what I think. He took my thing. Red flag, red